prefrontal cortex, Broca's area, premotor cortex, motor cortex, primary somatic sensory cortex. This is the parietal lobe, this is the gustatory area, the vernix area, this part, primary visual cortex, this is the primary visual cortex, optic radiation, cerebellum, brainstem, primary auditory cortex, left middle cerebellar artery, left cerebral hemisphere. This you must know. The areas of the brain, and I would ask you and request you to see, download or Gray's Anatomy. Gray's Anatomy, that picture, for that picture only, that will be, it's such a good picture that it will be in your brain. You will be impressed with that picture. Gray's Anatomy, you please look into these areas of the brain. You will be studying from your notebooks and your whatever book you are owning, you please see, add on Gray's Anatomy to see the picture. This is the major external parts of the human brain, underside view. The frontal lobe, the olfactory bulb, the temporal lobe, pons, cerebellum, cranial nerves shown in blue. These are the cranial nerves shown in blue. This is the olfactory bulb. Now, cerebellum, gross anatomy. It consists of cerebellar cortex, deep cerebellar nuclei, white medulla in between. The cerebellum is uninterrupted across the midline. The cortex thrown into numerous transverse folds called folia, separated by fissures. You can see the beautiful, this is the folia separated by fissures. These are the fissures. It's looking like a branch of a tree or plant. The white matter of the medulla resembles a branching tree called arbor vitae. This is known as white matter of the medulla resembles a branching tree called arbor vitae. Location within the posterior fossa, straddles the brainstem and forms the roof of the fourth ventricle. Tentorium cerebelli dura mater separate the cerebellum from the occipital lobes of the cerebellum. Now this is the picture of the sagittal section. This is the cerebral location of the cerebellum. You have the dural venous sinuses and the meninges, and this is the location of the cerebellum. A pair of cerebellar hemisphere united by vermis, worm-shaped. See, this is the worm-like, it's worm-shaped. A pair of cerebral hemispheres united by vermis. This is known as vermis. Parts of lobes of the cerebellum. See, this is the lingula, this is the central lobule, this is the ala, quadrangular lobule, lobulus simplex, this is the declive, subsemilunar lobule, folium, tuber, the pyramid, uvula, this is the tonsils, the inferior semilunar lobule, the parietal lobule, and flocculus and nodule. Each cerebellar hemisphere has the following features. Each cerebellar hemisphere has the following features. It has two surfaces, a superior surface and inferior surface. It has two borders, the anterior border, the posterior border, It has two notches, anterior cerebellar notch, posterior cerebellar notch. Parts of the vermis cerebelli is divided into two parts, namely superior vermis, inferior vermis. Vermis cerebelli is divided into two parts, superior vermis, inferior vermis. The anterior lobe, the middle lobe, this is the horizontal fissure, the posterolateral fissure, and this is the posterior lobe. Parts of the vermis, superior vermis, arranged anterior to the posterior, lingular, central lobule, culmen, declive folium. Parts of the vermis, inferior vermis, arranged posterior to anterior, tuber, pyramid, uvular nodule, Russell's lobe. Now, multiple nomenclatures have been used to describe the various lobules. Russell in 1952 used Roman numericals 1 to 10, anterior to posterior. Now, this is the anterior lobe, this is the lingula, ala, second and third, quadrangular lobe, fourth and fifth, culmen, simplex, sixth, declive, post-skeletal fissure, folium, class 1, class 2, tuber, semilunarius superior, semilunarius inferior, gracilis, pyramidal fissure, this is the bicentralis, pyramid is 8th, and 9th is uvula, this is the tonsils, the secondary fissure, posterolateral fissure, 10th is nodule, accessory paraflocculus, flocculus and paraflocculus. Now, archicerebellum is white, vestibulocerebellum, paliocerebellum is spinocerebellum, and neocerebellum is pontocerebellum and tectocerebellum, the yellow. Now, archicerebellum, paliocerebellum and neocerebellum. Cerebellum connection, efferent connections, superior cerebellar peduncle, cerebellothalamic fibers, cerebellum to the thalamus, the thalamic nuclei, forms three deep nuclei, BPLO, BLC and CL. Cerebellar rubral fibers from nucleus interpositus, from nucleus interpositus and dentate nuclei ascending portion of afferent connections, middle cerebellar peduncle, pontocerebellar fibers from cerebellum to pontine nuclei, cortico-pontocerebellar fibers from the cortex to the pontine cerebellar fibers to the pontocerebellar fibers, reticulocerebellar fibers, superior cerebellar peduncle, anterior spinocerebellar tract, cellulocerebellar fibers, raphe-cerebellar fibers, rubrocerebellar fibers, hypothalamic cerebellar fibers. Classification of phylogenetic and ontogenic development. This is important. Archicerebellum, paliocerebellum, neocerebellum. This is important. Classification by afferent connection. By afferent connection, vestibulocerebellum, spinocerebellum, pontocerebellum. Classification by efferent connections. Vermis, paravermal region, cerebellar hemispheres, deep nuclei. These are subcortical collection of grey matter arranged lateral, medial, dentate, emboliform, globose, fastigial. These are all interposed in between. See this picture. This is fastigial, this is globose, this is the emboliform and dentate nucleus. This emboliform and globose are interposed between fastigial and dentate. This is interposed, and you can see the nucleus from here, dentate nucleus. This is the fastigial nucleus here. This is the globose nucleus and emboliform nucleus. Now, cerebellar peduncles, the superior brachium, conjunctum, conjunctivum, midbrain, output to midbrain and thalamus mostly. Now, cerebellar peduncles, the output to midbrain and thalamus mostly. Middle brain, brachium pontis to pons, input from pons. Inferior restiform body, medulla, input and output. Now you can see the thalamus here and pineal body, diencephalon, superior colliculus, inferior colliculus, midbrain. The cerebellar peduncles, this is the pons, this is the medulla oblongata. Middle cerebellar peduncle, this scata. Inferior cerebellar peduncle, the median sulcus, the nucleus cuneatus, nucleus gracilis, olive, posterolateral view. This is the posterolateral view, and this is a very important figure, and you can see in your brain, not in your brain, you have to visualize, but the specimen in the lab, you can see all this, what is labeled here, the thalamus, now thalamus, pineal body together called diencephalon. This is superior colliculus, inferior colliculus midbrain, superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle, inferior cerebellar peduncle, median sulcus, nucleus cuneatus, nucleus gracilis, olive, medulla oblongata, this is the pons, the cerebellar peduncle. Blood supply, the arterial supply, the superior cerebellar artery, the anterior inferior cerebellar artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Again, the blood supply, I repeat, the arterial supply, superior cerebellar artery, anterior inferior cerebellar artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Now, venous drainage, superior cerebral veins drain into the straight sinus and great cerebral vein transverse and superior petrosal sinus. You see this skull, your sagittal section and also the base of the skull. Now, functions of cerebellum. This is important in Viva also. If the examiner asks you to hold the brain, then you will be asked the functions of the cerebellum, proprioceptive sensation. The cerebellum is the head ganglion of the proprioceptive system since it receives impulses from the muscles of the limbs, trunk and face. So, if there is any rearrangement, it will be manifested. Now you see, the cerebellum is the head ganglion of the proprioceptive system since it receives impulses from the muscles of the limbs, the trunk and face. Now this person is having a cerebellar disorder. So his actions, he goes like this. like this. He moves and this imbalance is there. Naturally, the cerebellum is the proprioceptive sensation functions of the cerebellum. It controls tone, posture and equilibrium. It is concerned with unconscious impulses, especially kinesthetic and vestibular, which controls tone, posture and equilibrium. So, functions of the cerebellum is a balance. Yeah. A lady on the rope, functions of cerebellum is motor skill. Now, here's the musician playing the instrument, and functions of it guides the motor cortex and controls all voluntary movements so that there may be accurate in time, force, duration and extent. It exercises all kinds of final editorial supervision over the motor impulses emerging from the cerebral cortex. Try to understand this. It guides cerebellum functions. The motor skill, the person playing table tennis is playing a musical instrument. Now it guides the motor cortex, controls all voluntary movements so that there may be accurate in time, force, duration and extent. It exercises all kinds of final editorial supervision over the motor impulses emerging from the cerebral cortex. Like you hear Rahman, Hariharan, these people when they are in orchestra. So, and the person who is leading the orchestra with this single moves, they are according to the instrument, the person playing gives the control, the total cerebellar control, the motor control. This is one thing. Now, functions of cerebellum, it exerts synergic control. The control of cerebellum is ipsilateral. The floccular nodular lobe is concerned with the control of equilibrium. The anterior lobe is concerned with the lower limb. The central lobe is concerned with the face. Now, cerebellar ataxia, ataxic gait and position, left cerebellar tumor, sways to the right in standing position, steady on the right leg, unsteady on the left leg, ataxic gait. Yeah. See, a patient comes to your clinic. If he comes like this, in this way, then you will understand, try to understand by clinically that there might be a problem with the cerebellum. So see, this, what is cerebellar ataxia? Ataxic gait and position, left cerebellar tumor. Okay, sways to the right in standing position, steady on the right leg, yeah, and unsteady on the left leg, ataxic gait. Cerebellar lesion, ataxia, hydrocephalus, hypotonia, pendular knee jerk and astheria, and asynergia, loss of cerebral muscular coordination, defective synergy between agonistic and antagonistic group of muscles. Now dysmetria, past pointing. This is what you ask the patient to close the eyes and you ask him to point it to the nose. So if he's having, he just will shoot like this. He will just go like this. He will like this. So, you please, what is cerebellar lesion? What is ataxia? What is ataxic gait? These you just part by part, as I'm giving you, showing you in the slideshow, the questions can come in this portion, like what is ataxic gait? Or the examiner in Viva might ask you, at least mention that it is a lesion in the cerebellum. Then decomposition of movement of finger nose test, dysdiadochokinesis, rebound phenomena, slap on face, dysarthria, nystagmus, intention tremor. Suddenly, some person, they just do like this. Again stop. And nystagmus, the movement of the eyeball, show you a picture there. Yeah. Now, what is nystagmus? The eyes display oscillatory movement when they are fixed to an object. You ask the patient to an object, you just hold a card and ask the patient, please look into it straight. Then the movement of the eyeball will be oscillatory. Now, see, the eyes display oscillatory movements when they are fixed to an object. The eyes tend to deviate from the control position 10 to 30 degrees to the opposite side. The eyes tend to deviate from the control position from 10 to 30 degrees to the opposite side. Now, cerebellar medulloblastoma, cerebellar medulloblastoma, the cerebellar tumor on vermis, truncal ataxia, frequent falling. The child in this picture would not try to stand unsupported, would not let go of the bed rail if she was stood on the floor. See, always if your child is complaining with the cerebellar medulloblastoma, clinically you can diagnose that he won't stand without a support. And she would not try to stand unsupported. That you hold the hand, beta, and slowly, the child will extend the hand. And the would not try to stand unsupported, would not let go of the bed rail. Support chhada when she is lacking confidence because within herself the signaling system of the brain and the nervous system is saying, no, you cannot. But that way the signaling system doesn't speak. But she gets a signal that no, I cannot stand without a support. Am I clear? Now, cranial nerves. Now, I will just go through it. The cranial nerves, olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory, hypoglossal. 10th, 11th, 12th. 12th cranial nerves. 12 cranial nerves, the olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory, hypoglossal. Now, cranial nerves, sensory nerves. The sensory nerves is 1, 2, 8. Motor nerves, 3rd nerve, 4th nerve, 6th nerve, 12th nerve. Mixed nerves, 5th nerve, 7th nerve, 9th nerve, 10th nerve, 11th nerve. Now, these can just be a small, short question. What are the cranial nerves? Sensory motor nerves or mixed nerves. If there is a viva, in the viva even they can question you when you answer the brain. Now, cranial nerves nuclei. See, this is the optic nerve, the trochlear nerve, abducens nerve, facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, hypoglossal nerve, and vagus nerve. This is the accessory nerve, the vestibulocochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, mandibular nerve, maxillary nerve, and ophthalmic nerve, oculomotor nerve, and olfactory bulb and its tract. बाप रे, चक्कर दे दिया. Okay. This brain तो चक्कर लगाते हैं ना, and so now the same. Now this is the picture that supplies the region. This is the nasal cavity. This is the eyeball. This is the third nerve, fourth nerve, and sixth nerve. See the areas supplying the vestibulocochlear nerve, hypoglossal nerve. This is supplying to the brain, 10th nerve, and vagus nerve, 11th nerve, 12th nerve. Now, olfactory nerve, this is the olfactory nerve. The anterior ethmoidal nerve. These are the internal branches. This is nasopalatine nerve, nasal septum. This is nasal septum. This is sagittal section. Now, greater palatine nerve, lesser palatine nerve. Now, pterygopalatine ganglion. Internal nasal branches of the anterior ethmoidal branches, ethmoidal nerves, septal olfactory nerve, and anterior ethmoidal nerve. This is the olfactory bulb, frontal sinus. Now, optic nerve. This is the left visual field, the right visual field. See, there is a crossover. Left eye, right eye, the optic nerve, the optic chiasma. There can be a short note on optic chiasma, 10 marks, and this is the brain. Now, trigeminal nerve, trigeminal, ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular. Here, trigeminal, ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, mandibular nerve. This is the trigeminal nerve, the ophthalmic nerve, and the maxillary nerve and the mandibular nerve. Now, you see the key: branchial motor, visceral motor, special sensory, general sensory. Is the yellow is the branchial motor, visceral motor is the brown, special sensory is green, and general sensory. The internal acoustic meatus here, motor nucleus of the facial nerve here, the posterior auricular branch in blue, stylomastoid foramen. This is all passing through the stylomastoid foramen. Now you can see the pattern and distribution of the facial nerve. Now, vestibulocochlear nerve. Vestibulocochlear nerve, this is the cupula, the semicircular canals, vestibular nerve, external auditory canal, this is the tympanic membrane, this is the three bones of the middle ear, glossopharyngeal nerve. See, this is the brain stem, this is tympanic membrane, this is the tonsils, the glossopharyngeal nerve here supplies the tongue and the artery, carotid arteries here, the glossopharyngeal nerve. Vagus nerve, see the branches of the vagus nerve proper. Now, hypoglossal nerve, see the internal jugular vein, the hypoglossal nerve here. the tongue. The lateral side is exposed. And you can see the dorsalis lingual artery, lingual vein, veins of the dorsum of the tongue. Now, tracts of the spinal cord. In the next class, you come prepared for the tracts of the spinal cord. In next Thursday, I will be talking to you on this because this is in this PowerPoint, I have 120 slides. That's why the title is Windows to the Nervous System. From the embryological content plus the total functional content and the areas of the brain. But I request you, areas of the brain, you please see, download Gray's Anatomy, not the American Gray's Anatomy. What I'm talking about from London, this is the original Gray. If you take a picture and visualize, you can get the drawings are in such a way that you can visualize, and the representative areas that which I showed you, that is commonly found in your books. But that book, I don't know which book has incorporated. But Gray's Anatomy, you please see for your own interest the visual area, the optic nerve, the visual cortex, and optic, the chiasma. These contents are very nicely represented, very colorful, and very informative. You just মানে বলে না খেলার চলে গান গাইতে পারি না, একটা গান গেয়ে দিলাম বর্ষার সময়, হ্যাঁ সেরকম তোমরা এটা দেখো. If you feel that this gives you some information, you can incorporate in your notebook or your tab or whatever. Tracks গুলো পড়ে আসবে, তাতে তোমাদের বুঝতে সুবিধা হবে. তার সঙ্গে নিউক্লিয়াই গুলো, বিকজ এগুলো থাকবে ট্র্যাক্স